Chapter 1. Your attention is being stolen daily. The invisible thief. You woke up today believing you were in control. You believe that when you reach for your phone, you are making a choice. You believe that when you open a laptop to get some work done, you are the captain of your ship. You are wrong. The moment your eyes open, a silent war begins. It is a war for the most valuable resource on the planet. It's not gold. It's not oil. It's not even data. It is your attention. Your attention is the currency of the modern age, and right now, your pockets are being picked every single second of every single day. Most people don't lose at life because they lack the intelligence to win. They don't lose because they are lazy or because they lack a vision board. They lose because their focus is fragmented into a million tiny shards. They are suffering from a leaky brain. Every notification, every quick check of the news, every irrelevant email is a leak. By the time they actually sit down to do something meaningful, they have no mental pressure left. They are empty. Repetition anchor. If you don't control your attention, someone else will. The casino in your pocket. Think about the last time you checked your phone for a second. Maybe you were waiting for a coffee, or maybe you hit a small wall in your work and felt a tiny spark of boredom. That spark was uncomfortable, so you reached for the anesthetic. You opened an app. 30 minutes later, you find yourself scrolling through a video of someone you don't know, doing something that doesn't matter, or reading a heated argument between two strangers in a comment section. You feel a strange sense of mental fog. Your brain feels heavy. What happened? You didn't choose that 30-minute detour. You were hijacked. Billion-dollar corporations employ the brightest neuroscientists and psychological engineers in the world for one specific purpose: to keep your eyes on the screen for 5 seconds longer. They use variable reward schedules, the same technology used in slot machines, to ensure that every time you pull to refresh, your brain gets a hit of dopamine. They have turned your life into a casino where the house always wins. And what do they win? Your life. Because your life is nothing more than the sum total of what you paid attention to. If you spend your life paying attention to noise, your life becomes noise. The cost of fragmentation. When your attention is stolen, it isn't just about the lost 30 minutes. It's about the attention residue. Scientific studies show that when you switch from a deep task to a distraction, it takes your brain an average of 23 minutes to return to full focus. This means if you are working on a project and you stop for 1 second to check a text message, you haven't just lost the 10 seconds it took to read the text. You have downgraded your brain's operating system for the next 20 minutes. You are now working at 60% capacity. You are making more mistakes. Your creativity has vanished. You are mental fragmentation personified. The world profits from this. An unfocused person is easy to sell to. An unfocused person is easy to manipulate. An unfocused person follows the crowd because they don't have the mental stamina to forge their own path. Repetition anchor. If you don't control your attention, someone else will. The myth of multitasking. We wear multitasking like a badge of honor. We think that having 17 tabs open, a podcast playing in one ear, and a phone buzzing on the desk makes us productive. It's a lie. The human brain cannot multitask. It can only task switch rapidly. And every switch carries a tax. It's like a car constantly shifting from first gear to fifth and back again. Eventually, the transmission explodes. Your mental transmission is currently smoking. This is why you feel busy but you aren't productive. This is why you feel exhausted at the end of the day despite having accomplished nothing on your priority list. You have spent the day reacting to the thieves. You have let the noise dictate your heartbeat. Reclaiming the throne. To ignore noise, you must first acknowledge that you are currently a victim of it. You must stop pretending that you have a strong will. Willpower is a finite resource, and it is no match for a supercomputer designed to addict you. The first step in training your brain is to build a wall. You must realize that your attention is a sacred space. If you wouldn't let a stranger walk into your house and start screaming in your ear, why do you let them do it via your smartphone? Why do you let breaking news about things you cannot control shatter your peace of mind? You must become a digital ascetic. You must start viewing every notification as an act of aggression. Because that's what it is. It is an attempt to pull you away from your purpose and into someone else's profit margin. The strategy: identification. For the next 24 hours, I want you to observe the pull. Notice the physical sensation in your body when your phone pings. Notice the itch to check your email when a task gets difficult. That itch is the sound of your attention being stolen. Don't fight it yet, just see it. See the world for what it is, a giant, neon-lit trap designed to keep you small, distracted, and reactive. Once you see the trap, you can start to walk around it. The noise is loud, but your purpose must be louder. If you do not have a mission that is more interesting than your phone, the phone will always win. If you do not have a goal that demands 100% of your soul, the noise will fill the vacuum. You are the gatekeeper. You are the one who decides what gets in. If you leave the gate open, the world will dump its trash in your yard. Close the gate. Lock it. Stand guard. Repetition anchor. If you don't control your attention, someone else will. Narrator note: pause for 5 seconds before moving to the next chapter summary. Chapter 1: Summary and Reflection. The economy of attention. Your focus is being hunted by experts. It is not an accident that you are distracted. It is a business model. Attention residue. Switching tasks doesn't just cost time, it costs intelligence. You are working with a dumbed-down brain every time you switch. The pull. Boredom is the gateway to distraction. Learn to sit with the itch without scratching it. The mission. The only way to ignore the noise is to have something more important to listen to. Training exercise. For the next 2 hours, put your phone in a different room. Experience the phantom vibrations, the feeling that you're missing something. Realize that what you are missing is noise. What you are gaining is your life. Chapter 2: Stop reacting to everything. The puppet strings. Imagine a puppet on a stage. For every tug on a string, the puppet moves. If the puppeteer pulls left, the puppet jerks left. If the puppeteer pulls up, the puppet leaps. The puppet has no choice. It has no internal compass. It is entirely dependent on the forces above it. Now, look at your life. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you spend the next 3 miles shouting at your windshield. Your heart rate is spiked, your cortisol is flowing, and your focus on your day is gone. Tug. A stranger leaves a snarky comment on your social media post. You spend the next hour crafting the perfect witty comeback to prove them wrong. Tug. Your boss sends a vague email on a Friday evening, and you spend your entire Saturday in a state of low-level anxiety, ruinous to your family time. Tug. Most people are puppets. They believe they are passionate or authentic because they express their emotions loudly. The truth is much colder. They are weak. They are predictable. They are easy to control. If I know what makes you angry, I can control your mood. If I know what makes you insecure, I can control your bank account. If I know what makes you defensive, I can control your time. To train your brain to ignore noise, you must first learn to stop the knee-jerk reaction to every stimulus that hits your senses. You must cut the strings. Repetition anchor. Not everything deserves a reaction. The anatomy of the hijack. Why is it so hard to stay calm? Why does our brain crave the hit of a reaction? It's a biological relic. Thousands of years ago, a reaction saved your life. If you heard a rustle in the grass, your amygdala, the brain's almond-shaped alarm system, didn't wait for a logical analysis. It triggered a fight-or-flight response instantly. In the modern world, there are very few lions. But your brain treats a dislike on a photo or a sharp word from a spouse as a life-threatening predator. Your body floods with adrenaline. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic, long-term planning, and ignorability, shuts down. When you react, you are operating from your lizard brain. You are literally devolving in real time. High performers, elite athletes, and master negotiators all share one trait: they have lengthened the gap. The gap is the space between the stimulus, what happens to you, and the response, what you do about it. For the average person, the gap is non-existent. Something happens, and they react instantly. For the trained brain, the gap is wide. Something happens, they observe it, they analyze its relevance to their mission, and they decide whether to respond or, more often than not, simply ignore it. The power of indifference. We often think the opposite of love is hate. It isn't. The opposite of love is indifference. Similarly, the opposite of being hurt by someone isn't fighting back. It is realizing that their words have no weight. When you react to a critic, you are validating their existence. You are saying, "What you think of me matters so much that I am willing to trade my peace for a chance to change your mind." Think about that trade. You are trading your most precious, non-renewable resource, your time and mental energy, for the opinion of someone who doesn't even know your middle name. That is a losing trade every single time. Dependency is when your internal state is determined by external events. Power is when your internal state is determined by your internal will. If you allow a coworker's bad mood to dictate your afternoon, you are their slave. You are dependent on them being nice for you to be happy. Is that how you want to live? At the mercy of the world's fluctuating moods? Repetition anchor. Not everything deserves a reaction. The observation technique. To master your reactions, you must practice the observation technique. Next time you feel that surge of heat in your chest, that urge to snap back, to refresh the page, to defend yourself, I want you to pause. Visualize the emotion as something outside of yourself. Say to yourself, "I am experiencing a feeling of irritation." Notice the wording. Not "I am irritated." You are not the irritation. You are the observer of the irritation. By labeling it, you move the activity from your emotional amygdala to your logical prefrontal cortex. You cool down the brain. Ask yourself one question: will reacting to this move me closer to my goals? Will arguing with this person make me richer? Will being offended by this news story make me healthier? Will worrying about this rumor make me a better leader? If the answer is no, and it almost always is, then the noise is irrelevant. It is a ghost. It is a distraction disguised as a right to be angry. You have no right to be angry if being angry makes you a loser. Silence as a filter. There is a profound dignity in the person who remains unbothered. In any high-stakes environment, a boardroom, a courtroom, or a heated family argument, the person who loses their temper loses the battle. The person who screams has run out of arguments. The person who reacts has run out of options. When you refuse to react, you create a vacuum. People will try to fill that vacuum with more noise. They will try harder to get a rise out of you. This is your training ground. Stand firm. Let the noise wash over you like water over a stone. The water is moving, the water is loud, but the stone remains exactly where it chose to be. Your energy is a finite pool. Every time you react to something meaningless, you are dipping a bucket into that pool and pouring it onto the ground. By the end of the day, when you need to focus on your family, your business, or your health, your pool is bone dry. Stop wasting your energy currency on people and events that are not on your payroll. Repetition anchor. Not everything deserves a reaction. Summary and mental drill. The puppet check. Throughout the day, ask yourself, who is pulling my strings right now? If you are stressed by a notification, the phone is the puppeteer. The 10-second rule. Before responding to any digital or verbal stimulus, count to 10. In those 10 seconds, the lizard brain retreats and the king, logic, returns to the throne. Validate yourself. You do not need to win an argument to be right. You do not need to defend your honor against people who have no honor. Energy conservation. View your peace as your primary profit. Anything that threatens that profit without a massive ROI, return on investment, is discarded. Training exercise. Today, find one instance where you would normally complain or snap back. It could be a long line at the grocery store or a rude email. Deliberately choose to do nothing. No sighing, no eye-rolling, no internal cursing. Just watch the event happen, recognize it as noise, and keep your internal lake perfectly still. Feel the power that comes from that stillness. That is the feeling of a trained brain. Narrator note. Pause for 5 seconds. Let the weight of the indifference section sink in before the conclusion of the chapter. End of Chapter 2 content. Progress check. That covers the depth and philosophical expansion for Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Noise is not information. The illusion of knowledge. We are the most informed generation in human history, and yet, we are arguably the most confused. We have the sum total of human knowledge in our pockets, but we use it to drown ourselves in trivia. We have fallen into a deadly trap. We have confused input with insight. We have confused consumption with contribution. Every morning, you scroll through a feed. You see a headline about a political scandal 3 states away. You see a trending topic about a celebrity's divorce. You read a top 10 list of habits you should be doing. You listen to a podcast about a tragedy in a country you've never visited. By 9 a.m., your brain is full. You feel like you've been busy. You feel like you're in the loop. But ask yourself this: how much of that information actually changed your life today? How much of it improved your craft, increased your bank account, or deepened your relationships? The answer is almost always 0. This is the definition of noise. Noise is any input that takes up mental real estate without paying rent. It disguises itself as staying informed, but its true purpose is to keep you in a state of passive observation. Repetition anchor. Busy mind, empty progress. The junk food of the mind. Imagine if you ate every piece of food you saw. Every sample at the grocery store, every leftover on a colleague's plate, every piece of trash on the sidewalk that looked vaguely edible. You would be physically ill within hours. You would be lethargic, bloated, and unable to move. Yet, this is exactly what we do with our minds. We consume mental junk food simply because it is in front of us. Noise is designed to be addictive. It exploits your curiosity gap. A headline says, "You won't believe what happened next," and your brain demands the answer. It's a cheap hit of dopamine. But once you have the answer, you realize it was worthless. You've traded 2 minutes of your life for a piece of information that has a shelf life of an hour. When you fill your brain with noise, you create mental bloat. Your cognitive processing speed slows down. You find it harder to make decisions because your working memory is clogged with celebrity gossip, news cycles, and the opinions of people you don't even respect. High performers understand that the mind is a sanctuary. They don't let just anything inside. They treat their mental input the way an elite athlete treats their diet. If it doesn't provide fuel for the mission, it doesn't pass the lips. The urgency scam. Noise has a favorite costume. It likes to dress up as urgency. The media, the notification pings, and the breaking news banners are all designed to make you feel like you need to know now. They create a false sense of crisis. They make you feel that if you aren't up to date, you are falling behind. But here is the secret of the world: almost nothing is urgent. If the world ended tomorrow, would it have mattered that you knew about a trending meme today? If you are building a business, does the daily fluctuation of a stock you don't own matter? The urgent noise pulls you out of the important work. The important work is usually quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't have a breaking banner. Writing your book, building your product, or raising your children doesn't offer a dopamine hit every 5 seconds. Noise screams. Signal whispers. To hear the signal, you have to turn off the noise. Repetition anchor. Busy mind, empty progress. The paralysis of over-advice. One of the most dangerous forms of noise is productivity noise or advice noise. We live in an age of endless how-to. You want to lose weight. There are 10,000 conflicting diets. You want to start a business. There are a million gurus telling you to do 10 different things. This creates analysis paralysis. You spend so much time researching, which is just a fancy word for consuming noise, that you never actually do the work. You read 5 books on marathon running but never put on your sneakers. You watch 10 hours of business motivation videos but never make a sales call. Information without execution is just a heavy burden. It's like carrying 100 maps but never taking a single step. You are exhausted from the weight of the maps, but you are still in the same place you started. Stop seeking more information. You likely already know exactly what you need to do. The noise is just your way of procrastinating. It's a way to feel productive without the risk of failure. But if you aren't failing, you aren't moving. Developing a signal-to-noise ratio. To train your brain, you must develop a ruthless signal-to-noise ratio. The signal is the information that is directly applicable to your current goals. The noise is everything else. If you are a programmer, a deep dive tutorial on a new language is signal. A news report on a celebrity's legal battle is noise. If you are a parent, a book on child psychology is signal. A Twitter thread about a political argument is noise. Most people operate at a ratio of 10% signal and 90% noise. They are mentally obese. To become untouchable, you must invert that. You must aim for 90% signal. This means just-in-time learning instead of just-in-case learning. Stop reading things just in case they might be useful one day. Only consume information that you can apply immediately to a problem you are currently solving. If you aren't going to use it in the next 24 hours, it's noise. Delete it. Close the tab. Walk away. Repetition anchor. Busy mind, empty progress. The information fast. How do you break the addiction? You need a digital detox, but specifically an information fast. For the next 3 days, I want you to stop being informed. No news. No social media feeds. No podcasts. No suggested videos. At first, your brain will scream. You will feel disconnected. You will feel a strange anxiety that you are missing something important. This is the sound of your addiction leaving your body. By day 2, something miraculous happens. The fog begins to lift. You start to notice the world around you. You notice your own thoughts that were previously drowned out by the noise of others. You find that you have more energy to focus on your work. You realize that the world didn't stop turning just because you didn't know what happened in the latest political drama. You realize that most information is just entertainment disguised as education. Summary and execution steps. Audit your input. Look at your browser history and your app usage. Ask of every item, did this result in an action? If no, it was noise. The 24-hour rule. Only consume information you can act on within 24 hours. Everything else is just-in-case clutter. Kill the notifications. If an app is breaking news, it is breaking your focus. Turn it off. You will find out the big things soon enough. The small things don't matter. Value silence. Learn to love the sound of your own mind. That is where the real breakthroughs happen. The goal isn't to know everything. The goal is to know the right things and do them. A focused mind with 3 pieces of key information will outperform a brilliant mind cluttered with 1,000,000 pieces of noise every single time. Repetition anchor. Busy mind, empty progress. Chapter 4. Train your brain to filter ruthlessly. The gatekeeper of the soul. Most people believe their brain is a sponge. They think their job is to soak up as much of the world as possible. They listen to every opinion, watch every trending video, and absorb the moods of everyone they encounter. But there is a problem with sponges. They soak up dirty water just as easily as clean water. Eventually, the sponge becomes heavy, grey, and smells of rot. Your brain should not be a sponge. Your brain must be a filter. A filter is active. A filter is picky. A filter has a specific mesh size that only allows certain particles to pass through while rejecting the rest. In a world of infinite noise, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your filters. If your filters are weak, your mind is a trash can. If your filters are ruthless, your mind is a sanctuary of high-level execution. High performers don't necessarily have more willpower than you. They aren't necessarily smarter in the traditional sense. What they have is a more sophisticated filtering system. They have decided, in advance, what is allowed to enter their consciousness and what is dismissed before it even registers. Repetition anchor. If it doesn't serve the mission, it gets cut. The tale of 2 listeners. Imagine 2 professionals, Sarah and Mark. Both receive the exact same piece of harsh, public criticism from a senior executive during a meeting. The executive says, "This proposal is sloppy, unimaginative, and a waste of my time." Sarah has no filter. The words hit her like a physical blow. Her brain begins to spiral. She thinks, is he right? Am I sloppy? Does everyone in this room think I'm a fraud? I'll never get promoted. I should probably start looking for another job. For the next 4 days, Sarah is mentally paralyzed. She can't sleep, she snaps at her partner, and she produces no work because her brain is busy replaying those 10 seconds of noise over and over again. The noise has become her reality. Mark has a ruthless filter. When the executive speaks, Mark's brain doesn't feel the hit. Instead, his filter asks one question: is there a signal in this noise? He identifies the signal. Proposal needs more data and better visuals. The rest, the sloppy, the unimaginative, the waste of time, is identified as noise. Mark filters it out instantly. He doesn't take it personally because it doesn't serve the mission of improving the proposal. He goes back to his desk, executes the changes, and submits a better version by 5 o'clock. Mark didn't lose a single ounce of sleep. The difference between Sarah and Mark isn't their talent. It's their filter. One let the trash in, the other blocked it at the gate. Defining the mesh. You cannot filter if you don't know what you are filtering for. Most people are distracted because they have no mission. If you don't have a clear, overriding objective for your day, your year, and your life, then everything looks equally important. If you are wandering in a forest with no map, every shiny pebble and strange bird is a distraction. But if you are running out of that forest because it's on fire, you don't notice the pebbles. You don't see the birds. You only see the path to safety. To build a ruthless filter, you must define your mission. Is your mission to build a $10 million company? Is your mission to be the best father in the world? Is your mission to master the piano? Once the mission is clear, the filter becomes simple. You look at every incoming piece of noise, a text, an invitation, a piece of gossip, a political headline, and you ask, does this serve the mission? If the answer is not a hell yes, then it is a no. Does knowing about a celebrity's legal troubles help me build my company? No. Filter it. Does arguing with a stranger on the internet about their wrong opinion make me a better father? No. Filter it. Does checking my email for the 14th time this hour help me master the piano? No. Filter it. When you filter ruthlessly, people will call you cold. They will call you distracted or intense. Let them. They are the ones with the heavy, grey sponges. You are the one with the clear path. Repetition anchor. If it doesn't serve the mission, it gets cut. The 1-second audit. The brain's default setting is accept all. You must manually change this to reject all by default. This requires the 1-second audit. Whenever a piece of information enters your field of vision or hearing, you must pause for exactly 1 second before you let it into your inner sanctum. In that 1 second, you are the bouncer at the door of a high-end club. The information is a person trying to get in. You check their ID. You look at their clothes. You ask, are you on the list? If the information is your neighbor is complaining about your grass, and you realize that your neighbor is a chronic complainer and your mission is to finish your project, guess what? They aren't on the list. You acknowledge the sound, you categorize it as noise, and you go back to work. You don't let the neighbor into the club. You don't let them sit at the VIP table of your mind and drink your expensive cognitive energy. Most people let every drunk thought and every rowdy distraction into their mental club. No wonder their heads feel like a chaotic bar fight. The social filter. Pruning the garden. The loudest noise in our lives often comes from the people around us. We are told to be nice and to listen to everyone. This is terrible advice for someone seeking mental dominance. You cannot afford to be a dumping ground for other people's trauma, complaints, and small-mindedness. Pruning is a necessary part of growth. If a gardener doesn't cut away the dead branches, the tree cannot thrive. You must prune your social circle with the same ruthlessness. If you have friends whose only contribution to your life is noise, complaining about the government, gossiping about mutual friends, or telling you why your goals are unrealistic, you must filter them. You don't have to be mean. You just have to stop being available. When you stop reacting to their noise, they will eventually find a new sponge to leak on. Your silence is the filter that keeps them out. Repetition anchor. If it doesn't serve the mission, it gets cut. The biological cost of not filtering. Every time you fail to filter, you pay a cognitive tax. Your brain requires glucose and oxygen to process information. Every useless thought you entertain burns fuel. When you spend your morning filtering nothing, letting the news, the social media, and the office drama flow in, you are burning your brain fuel on garbage. By 2 p.m., you feel brain dead. You aren't tired because you worked hard. You are tired because you processed too much noise. You have decision fatigue. You've used up your ability to make high-level choices on low-level nonsense. A master filters to conserve energy. They save their mental fire for the things that matter. They appear calm and effortless because they aren't fighting 1,000 internal battles against irrelevant noise. They have already won the war at the gate. Summary and execution. Identify the mission. Write down your top 3 goals for the next 6 months. These are your VIP list. Set your default to reject. Practice saying no to small things. No to the extra video. No to the office gossip. No to the quick check of the phone. The signal search. When you receive feedback or criticism, look only for the actionable data. Throw the emotional wrapping paper in the trash. Energy audit. At the end of the day, ask, what was the loudest noise today, and why did I let it in? Your brain is your most valuable asset. Treat it like a high-security vault. Only the gold gets in. Everything else stays on the street. Repetition anchor. If it doesn't serve the mission, it gets cut. Chapter 5. Silence is a weapon. The sound of weakness. In our modern culture, we are taught that having a voice is the ultimate form of power. We are encouraged to speak up, to express our feelings, to clap back, and to ensure that everyone knows exactly where we stand. We believe that the loudest person in the room is the one in charge. But look closer. The person who is screaming is usually the one who has lost control. The person who is constantly explaining themselves is the one who is insecure. The person who feels the need to fill every moment of a conversation with noise is the one who is terrified of what they might find in the quiet. Noise is often a mask for incompetence. It is a smokescreen for fear. Silence, on the other hand, is a weapon. It is the ultimate sign of mental dominance. When you master silence, you stop being a participant in the chaos and start being the observer of it. You move from being the one whose strings are pulled to being the one who holds the scissors. Repetition anchor. Silence is strength. The predator's advantage. Think about the animal kingdom. Does the lion roar when it is hunting? No. It is silent. It is calculated. It is focused. It only roars when the hunt is over, or when it wants to intimidate from a distance. The roar is for show. The silence is for the kill. In your life, your roar is your reaction. It is your angry email, your defensive argument, or your need to tell everyone your plans. When you roar, you give away your position. You reveal your emotions, your weaknesses, and your strategy. When you remain silent, you become a black box. No one knows what you are thinking. No one knows if you are angry, hurt, or completely indifferent. This unpredictability makes you untouchable. In a world where everyone is a leaky faucet of information and emotion, the person who can remain silent is the person who holds the power. Silence isn't just the absence of noise, it is the presence of self-control. Silence in conflict, the vacuum effect. Most arguments are fueled by a back-and-forth energy. Person A says something provocative. Person B reacts. Person A escalates. It is a tennis match of noise. But what happens when person B refuses to hit the ball back? If someone insults you or tries to draw you into a meaningless drama and you respond with absolute, calm silence, you have created a psychological vacuum. The other person expects a reaction. They are prepared for a fight. When you provide nothing, they lose their balance. They will often start talking more. They will stumble over their words. They will become uncomfortable. In that discomfort, they reveal their hand. They reveal their desperation. By saying nothing, you have forced them to confront their own noise. In an argument, the first person to lose their cool loses the battle. The person who remains silent and simply looks the other person in the eye holds all the cards. You aren't being passive. You are being tactical. You are conserving your energy while they are burning theirs. Repetition anchor. Silence is strength. The ego's need for noise. The loudest noise in your life is your own ego. The ego hates silence. The ego wants to be right. It wants to defend its reputation. It wants to make sure that they don't get away with saying that. When you train your brain to ignore noise, You are essentially training your ego to sit down and shut up. You are realizing that you don't need to win every argument to be the winner. You don't need to explain your life to people who don't matter. Every time you feel the urge to explain yourself or to defend your choices to someone who has no impact on your mission, stop. Ask yourself, what do I gain by speaking? If the only thing you gain is a tiny hit of ego satisfaction, then the cost is too high. You are trading your peace for a moment of pride. A truly powerful person doesn't care if they are misunderstood by people who don't matter. They have enough internal clarity that they don't need external validation. Their results speak for them. Their silence is their shield. Internal silence, the fortress. Silence is not just about what comes out of your mouth. It is about what happens inside your head. External noise is easy to manage. You can wear headphones or walk away. Internal noise, the mental chatter, is the real enemy. Your brain is a simulation machine. It constantly replays past conversations and pre-plays future ones. It creates imaginary arguments where you finally say the perfect thing to that person who annoyed you 3 years ago. This is noise. This is a waste of your biological CPU. Training your brain for silence means learning to recognize these mental loops and cutting them off. When you find yourself in an internal argument, visualize a mute button. Literally, picture the noise as a radio station that is just static. Turn the dial. Return to the present moment. Return to the breath. Return to the mission. The goal is to reach a state of still water. If you throw a pebble into a stormy sea, it makes no difference. But if you throw a pebble into a perfectly still lake, the ripples are clear. When your mind is silent, you notice the smallest signals that others miss. You see opportunities where others see chaos. You see the truth where others see the noise. Repetition anchor. Silence is strength. The weaponization of the pause. In communication, the most powerful tool is the pause. Amateurs rush to fill the silence. They speak quickly, they interrupt, and they fear the awkward gap. Masters use the gap. In a negotiation, when the other side makes an offer, wait 5 seconds longer than is comfortable before you respond. The other person will often become nervous and start negotiating against themselves. In a meeting, if you are asked a difficult question, don't rush to answer. Take a slow breath. Let the silence hang in the air. This shows that you are not reactive. It shows that you are a processor, not a reactor. The pause is where your power lives. It is the bridge between the noise of the world and the wisdom of your brain. The discipline of non-engagement. To ignore noise, you must master the art of non-engagement. The world is constantly throwing hooks at you. A controversial news story is a hook. A passive-aggressive comment is a hook. A urgent but meaningless email is a hook. Most people bite every hook they see. They spend their whole lives being reeled in by other people's agendas. Silence is the act of swimming past the hook. You see it. You recognize it for what it is, bait, and you simply keep swimming. You don't need to tell the fisherman he's wrong. You don't need to fight the hook. You just don't bite. When you stop engaging with noise, the noise eventually stops seeking you out. You become a poor investment for drama. People realize that they can't get a hit off you. They can't control you with their nonsense. You are free. Summary and mental drill. The 5-second pause. In every conversation today, wait 2 to 5 seconds before responding. Notice how much more in control you feel. Ego check. When you feel the urge to set the record straight, ask, does this person's opinion actually affect my bank account or my peace? If no, stay silent. The mirror exercise. Look at yourself in the mirror. Practice a face of neutrality. This is your untouchable mask. It is not angry. It is simply still. Internal mute. Whenever your brain starts an imaginary argument, say the word noise out loud and return to your work. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the ultimate concentration of it. Repetition anchor. Silence is strength. Chapter 6. Discipline over dopamine. The junkie in your head. Right now, as you listen to this, there is a part of your brain that is bored. It's not because the information is bad, it's because it's not sparkly. It's not a 15-second clip of someone falling over, a flashing notification, or a like on your recent photo. Your brain has been trained to be a dopamine junkie. Dopamine is the seeking chemical. It is the neurotransmitter responsible for motivation and reward. In the wild, it was our best friend. It drove our ancestors to find calorie-dense food, to seek out shelter, and to find a mate. It was the go-get-it molecule. But today, that molecule has been weaponized against you. We live in a world of cheap dopamine. You don't have to hunt for a reward anymore. You just have to move your thumb 2 inches. You don't have to build a business to feel a sense of status. You just have to post a fake photo and wait for the red hearts to appear. This is the loudest noise of all. It's the internal siren song of the easy path. Repetition anchor. Comfort now, regret later. Discipline now, freedom later. The death of depth. When you indulge in cheap dopamine, endless scrolling, binge-watching, constant novelty, you are performing a chemical lobotomy on yourself. Every time you give in to the itch to check your phone, you are weakening your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles complex thinking, impulse control, and long-term planning. Simultaneously, you are strengthening your limbic system, the primitive, emotional part of the brain that wants instant gratification. This creates a focus deficit. This is why most people can no longer sit through a 2-hour movie without checking their phone 5 times. This is why people can't read a dense book or work on a difficult problem for more than 10 minutes without feeling an unbearable urge to check something. The noise of dopamine has destroyed their ability to go deep. And if you cannot go deep, you cannot produce anything of value. Value is created in the deep. The shallows are full of noise and average people. The deep is where the winners live. But to get to the deep, you have to survive the boredom of the descent. The boredom threshold. Discipline is not just about working hard. Discipline is the ability to tolerate a lack of stimulation. Think about the work that actually changes your life. Writing a business plan. Mastering a new technical skill. Working out when you are tired. Having a difficult conversation with a partner. None of these things provide cheap dopamine. They are often slow, frustrating, and, to be honest, boring in the moment. The brain of a noise addict cannot handle this. As soon as the work gets boring, the junkie brain screams for a hit. It says, just check the news for a second. Just see if anyone replied to that comment. You've worked hard for 5 minutes, you deserve a treat. And you listen. You give in. And in that moment, you have lost. You have traded your future for a 10-second hit of neurochemical sugar. Repetition anchor. Comfort now, regret later. Discipline now, freedom later. The high dopamine trap. We often confuse high energy with productivity. There is a specific kind of noise called productivity theatre. This is when you do high dopamine tasks that feel like work but produce no results. Checking your stats numbers every hour. Organizing your desk for the 3rd time. Answering quick emails that don't matter. Watching motivational videos. These tasks give you a dopamine hit because they feel like progress. But they are noise. They are a sugar high for the mind. True discipline is choosing the low dopamine task, the hard, quiet, unglamorous work that actually moves the needle over the high dopamine noise. Discipline is being the person who can sit in a room alone and do one thing for 4 hours without needing a pat on the back from the internet. Rewiring the reward system, the dopamine fast. How do we train the brain to ignore this biological noise? We have to reset our reward baseline. If you eat chocolate for every meal, an apple tastes like cardboard. If you scroll TikTok for 4 hours a day, a book feels like a chore. You have overstimulated your receptors. To fix this, you must engage in a dopamine fast. This doesn't mean moving to a cave. It means deliberately removing cheap hits for a set period. No social media for 24 hours. No music or podcasts while you walk or drive. No entertainment until your deep work is done. When you remove the noise of high-level stimulation, your brain begins to recalibrate. Suddenly, the boring work starts to feel interesting again. You find your flow more easily. You start to notice details you were too distracted to see before. You are teaching your brain that rewards are earned, not given. Repetition anchor. Comfort now, regret later. Discipline now, freedom later. The pain of discipline versus the pain of regret. There are two types of pain in this world. There is the pain of discipline, the 6 a.m. workout, the resisted urge to check the phone, the long hours of focus, the rejection of easy pleasures. This pain weighs ounces. It is sharp, but it passes quickly, and it leaves you stronger. Then there is the pain of regret, the realization 5 years from now that you wasted your best years chasing likes and trends. The knowledge that you had the potential to be great, but you were too distracted by noise to ever get started. This pain weighs tons. It is a dull, heavy ache that never goes away. Every time you choose dopamine over discipline, you are choosing regret. You are trading your big goals for small hits. Ignore the noise of your impulses. When your brain says, "I need a break," ask yourself, do I actually need a break, or am I just looking for a hit of dopamine? If you aren't sweating or mentally exhausted, you don't need a break. You just need to endure the boredom. The architecture of discipline. Don't rely on willpower. Willpower is a leaky battery. Instead, use discipline to build a system of silence. Delete the apps. If you can't control yourself, remove the temptation. The work first rule: no cheap dopamine, social media, news, YouTube, until your 3 most important tasks are finished. Physical distance. Put your phone in a locker or another room during work hours. If you have to walk 20 feet to get a hit, you're much less likely to do it. Discipline is the act of making the hard path the easy path by removing the distractions. Summary and execution. Identify the dealer. What is your primary source of cheap dopamine? Instagram, news, email, gaming. Acknowledge it as an addiction, not a hobby. Raise the baseline. Spend 30 minutes every day in total silence. No phone, no book, no input. Relearn how to be alone with your thoughts. Earn the hit. Only allow yourself entertainment after you have completed a difficult, low dopamine task. The boredom test. When you feel bored, stay there. Don't reach for the phone. See what thoughts come up when the noise stops. Freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want. That's slavery to your impulses. Freedom is the ability to do what you know you should do, even when you don't feel like it. Repetition anchor. Comfort now, regret later. Discipline now, freedom later. Chapter 7. Build an unbreakable focus window. The myth of natural focus. We often look at world-class musicians, elite coders, or legendary writers and assume they were born with a gift for concentration. We watch them work for hours on end, lost in a state of total immersion, and we think, I could never do that. My mind wanders too much. I'm just not built that way. This is a lie you tell yourself to excuse your own lack of training. Focus is not a personality trait. It is not a genetic gift. Focus is a muscle, and right now, most of yours is atrophied. It is weak because it has never been pushed. It has been pampered by a world that gives you everything you want the second you want it. If you want to ignore the noise, you cannot rely on trying harder. You cannot simply wish yourself into concentration. You must build a structure that makes focus inevitable. You must build an unbreakable focus window. This is a dedicated block of time, protected by a fortress of habits and environmental triggers, where the outside world ceases to exist. It is a space where the noise is physically and digitally blocked, leaving only you and your mission. Repetition anchor. Where attention goes, results follow. The physics of flow. To understand why a focus window is necessary, you have to understand the cost of micro-distractions. As we discussed in Chapter 1, attention residue is the mental cost of switching tasks. But there is a deeper level, flow. Flow is the psychological state where you become so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The ego falls away. Time flies. Every action, every thought follows inevitably from the previous one. In flow, your productivity doesn't just increase by 10% or 20%. Research suggests that people in a flow state are 500% more productive than their average selves. Think about that. 1 hour of flow is worth 5 hours of normal work. But here is the catch. Flow has an entry cost. It takes the human brain an average of 15 to 20 minutes of uninterrupted concentration to even begin entering a flow state. If you are working and you check a text message at the 14-minute mark, you have reset the clock. You never reached the deep water. You spent your whole day splashing around in the shallows of transition time. You are exhausted, but you haven't actually done anything. The Unbreakable focus window is designed to pay that 20-minute entry fee and then stay in the profit zone for as long as possible. Step 1. Design the fortress, the physical environment. Your brain is a highly sensitive detection machine. It is constantly scanning your environment for threats and rewards. If your phone is sitting on your desk, even if it is face down, a part of your brain is dedicated to monitoring it. It is waiting for the buzz. It is wondering if you have a notification. This is passive noise, and it is draining your battery. To build an unbreakable window, you must architect your environment for zero friction. The phone ban. The phone does not stay on the desk. It does not stay in your pocket. It goes in another room. It goes in a drawer. If you are afraid of missing an emergency, set your favorites, spouse, kids, to bypass Do Not Disturb. Put the phone in a closet and forget it exists. The visual horizon. Clear your desk of anything that isn't related to the task at hand. If you are writing, you need a screen and water. You do not need mail, half-eaten snacks, or random gadgets. If it's in your field of vision, it's a potential tug on your attention. The acoustic shield. Use noise-cancelling headphones or white noise. Not music with lyrics. Lyrics are just more noise for the language processing part of your brain to filter. Use brown noise, binaural beats, or instrumental tracks that fade into the background. Repetition anchor. Where attention goes, results follow. Step 2. The digital quarantine. Your computer is the greatest tool in history, but it is also a portal to infinite noise. Before you begin your focus window, you must perform a digital sweep. Tab genocide. Close every tab that is not essential for the specific task you are about to do. If you need that article for later, save it to a reading list and close it. App shutdown. Close Slack, Discord, email, and Teams. If your job requires you to be available, schedule your focus window during a time when you can disappear, or inform your team, I'm going deep for 90 minutes. I'll be back at 11 o'clock. Full screen mode. Work in full screen. Do not let the clock or the taskbar icons whisper to you. By doing this, you are telling your brain, the exits are locked. There is nowhere to go but forward. Step 3. The entry ritual. The brain loves cues. Just as Pavlov's dog salivated at the sound of a bell, you can train your brain to activate focus at the sound or feel of a specific ritual. You need a 60-second routine that signals the start of the window. It could be putting on a specific work hoodie. It could be making a specific cup of tea. It could be a 30-second breathing exercise where you visualize the task being completed. Whatever it is, do it every single time. Eventually, the ritual itself will trigger the release of focus-enhancing neurochemicals. Your brain will recognize the cue and say, okay, the noise is over. It's time to hunt. The 90-minute sprint. The human brain operates on ultradian rhythms, cycles of about 90 to 120 minutes. After 90 minutes of high-intensity focus, your brain's glucose levels drop and your focus filter begins to leak. Do not try to work for 8 hours straight. That is a recipe for low-quality output and burnout. Instead, build your day around 2 or 3 unbreakable windows of 90 minutes each. 90 minutes of pure, filtered, noise-free execution will produce more results than 12 hours of scattered effort. When you are in the window, you are a machine. When the 90 minutes are up, you stop. You step away. You go for a walk. You give your brain a chance to clear the cache. Repetition anchor. Where attention goes, results follow. Dealing with internal interruption. Even in a perfect environment, noise will still come from inside the house. You will be working, and suddenly your brain will scream, I forgot to buy milk, or I wonder if that package shipped yet. Do not follow these thoughts. If you follow them, the window is broken. Instead, keep a distraction pad, a simple piece of paper and a pen, next to you. When an intrusive thought appears, write it down in 3 words, buy milk. Then, immediately return to the task. By writing it down, you are telling your brain, I have captured this information. You don't need to keep shouting it at me. You deal with the list after the window is closed. The result? Mental endurance. The first time you try to stay in an unbreakable focus window, you will fail. After 20 minutes, your skin will crawl. You will feel an almost physical itch to check your phone or find some noise. Stay in the chair. This discomfort is the feeling of your focus muscle being pushed to its limit. It's the burn you feel in a gym. If you quit when it gets uncomfortable, you will never grow. If you stay in the chair and push through the boredom, the next time will be easier. Over weeks and months, you will develop the ability to drop into deep focus instantly. You will become the person who can produce a week's worth of work in a single morning. While the rest of the world is drowning in notifications and meaningless urgency, you will be moving at light speed. Repetition anchor. Where attention goes, results follow. Summary and execution. Pick your time. Identify the 90-minute block when your energy is highest, usually early morning. This is your sacred window. Eliminate the phone. Not on silent. Not face down. Gone. The distraction pad. Keep a pen and paper nearby to catch the internal noise so you can ignore it. The ritual. Create a 60-second start sequence to tell your brain the hunt has begun. Your life is the product of what you focus on. If you focus on the noise, you become part of the noise. If you focus on the mission, you become the mission. Lock the door. Turn off the world. Do the work. Repetition anchor. Where attention goes, results follow. Chapter 8. Detach from opinions completely. The invisible cage. You are currently being followed. You are being watched. Every move you make, every word you speak, and every goal you set is being analyzed by a jury that never sleeps. Or at least, that is what your brain wants you to believe. We live in a world of social noise. It is perhaps the loudest, most persistent form of interference we face. It isn't the buzz of a phone or the chime of an email, it is the imagined voice of they. What will they think if I quit my job? What will they say if I post this video and it fails? How will I look to them if I change my mind? This noise creates an invisible cage. Most people live their entire lives within the bars of other people's expectations. They choose their careers, their clothes, their partners, and their hobbies based on a social filter. They are so busy trying to avoid the noise of judgment that they never hear the signal of their own potential. If you want to be mentally untouchable, you must realize that the opinions of others are not just noise. They are a distraction designed to keep you safe and average. To win, you must become stone-cold deaf to the gallery. Repetition anchor. Their opinion is not your reality. The spotlight effect. Psychologists call it the spotlight effect. It is the egocentric bias that causes us to believe we are being noticed much more than we actually are. You think that when you walk into a room, everyone is judging your outfit. You think that when you make a mistake at work, everyone is talking about it in the break room. Here is the cold, liberating truth. Nobody is thinking about you. Everyone else is too busy being the protagonist of their own drama. They are too worried about their hair, their mistakes, and their they. While you are losing sleep over what they thought of your comment, they have already forgotten you exist. When you realize that most people are walking around in a self-absorbed fog, the noise of their judgment loses its power. You aren't being judged by a panel of experts. You are being briefly glanced at by other distracted, insecure people. Why would you let their 3-second passing thought dictate your lifelong strategy? The mirror of the critic. To ignore social noise, you must understand where it comes from. When someone criticizes you, when they tell you your idea is unrealistic or that you're changing, they are rarely talking about you. They are talking to themselves. A person who has given up on their own dreams cannot handle seeing you pursue yours. It creates cognitive dissonance. Your progress is a mirror that reflects their stagnation. To stop the pain of looking in that mirror, they try to pull you back down. They try to noise you into submission. Be realistic, they say. What they mean is, please stay where you are so I don't feel bad about staying where I am. You've changed, they say. What they mean is, you are no longer predictable, and that makes me uncomfortable. Their opinion is a projection of their own limitations, fears, and internal noise. It has nothing to do with your capacity. If you accept their opinion, you accept their limits. Repetition anchor. Their opinion is not your reality. Self-sabotage disguised as caution. The most dangerous form of social noise is the kind that sounds like good advice. We often delay taking action because we want to do it right or wait for the right time. We tell ourselves we are being cautious. But if you look deeper, you aren't being cautious, you are being terrified of the noise of failure. You are afraid of the "I told you so's." You are afraid of looking foolish in front of people you don't even like. This is self-sabotage disguised as prudence. Think about the goals you've put on the shelf. The business you didn't start. The book you didn't write. The trip you didn't take. Were you really waiting for the right time, or were you waiting for a guarantee that no one would laugh at you? There is no such guarantee. In fact, if you are doing anything worthwhile, people will laugh. They will doubt. They will misunderstand. The noise of doubt is the entrance fee for the life of greatness. If you aren't willing to be the fool for a while, you will never be the master. The so what? Technique. To train your brain to ignore this noise, you must master the so what response. This is a mental exercise in worst-case scenario logic. Imagine you take a risk and fail publicly. The noise, everyone will think you're a loser. Your response, so what? The noise, they won't take you seriously next time. Your response, so what? The noise, you'll have to start over from scratch. Your response, so what? When you follow the so what trail to its end, you realize that the social death you fear is an illusion. You are still alive. You still have your skills. You still have your mission. The only thing you've lost is the approval of people who weren't helping you anyway. Once you stop fearing the so what, you become dangerous. You become a person who can't be shamed. And a person who can't be shamed is a person who can't be stopped. Repetition anchor. Their opinion is not your reality. The permission trap. Most people are permission seekers. They wait for a mentor, a parent, or a boss to tell them it's okay to go fast. They look for a sign that the world approves of their direction. Seeking permission is just looking for positive noise. But here is the problem. If you need their yes to start, you will need their stay to continue. You are handing the remote control of your life to the audience. Stop seeking permission. Stop waiting for the world to validate your path. The noise of approval is just as distracting as the noise of criticism. Both pull you away from your internal compass. The only validation that matters is execution. Do the work. Let the results be the only noise you listen to. The art of being the villain. To truly ignore social noise, you must be comfortable with being the villain in someone else's story. You cannot be the great one to your mission and the nice guy to everyone's distractions at the same time. If you prioritize your focus, someone will call you selfish. If you say no to meaningless social obligations, someone will call you arrogant. If you filter out the gossip, someone will call you cold. Let them. Accept that you will be misunderstood. Accept that people will tell stories about you that aren't true. Let them hold their tiny, noisy opinions while you hold the results. You are not responsible for their perception of you. You are only responsible for your mission. The lion does not turn around when the small dog barks. The lion is not offended. The lion doesn't try to explain its lioness to the dog. It simply continues toward its objective. The barking is just noise. Repetition anchor. Their opinion is not your reality. Summary and mental drill. Identify the they. Who are the specific people whose opinions you are afraid of? Write their names down. Now ask, do I want their life? If the answer is no, their opinion is disqualified. Practice public small fails. Do something slightly weird today. Wear a mismatched sock. Eat lunch alone in a busy place without your phone. Feel the spotlight effect and watch it fade when you realize nobody cares. The opinion fast. Stop asking for feedback for 1 week. Make decisions based entirely on your own internal signal. The mirror check. When you feel judged, remind yourself, this is their mirror, not my soul. You were not born to be a background character in someone else's drama. You were born to be the architect of your own reality. Turn down the volume of the world. Turn up the volume of your work. Repetition anchor. Their opinion is not your reality. Chapter 9. Master internal noise. The call is coming from inside the house. Up until this point, we have focused on the noise of the world, the notifications, the opinions of others, the cheap dopamine of the internet, and the clutter of unnecessary information. We have built walls, installed filters, and weaponized silence. But there is a noise that no pair of noise-cancelling headphones can block. It is a noise that follows you into a dark room, stays with you under the covers at 3 a.m., and whispers in your ear the moment you decide to do something great. This is the internal noise. The radio in the skull. For most people, the loudest voice they ever hear is their own. It is the voice of doubt, the voice of overthinking, and the voice of imaginary resistance. You don't fail because the world is too loud. You fail because your internal monologue is so deafening that you can no longer hear your intuition or your instructions. You hesitate not because the task is hard, but because your mind has created 1,000 imaginary reasons why you should wait. If you do not master the noise inside, the silence outside won't save you. Repetition anchor. Thoughts are suggestions, not commands. The survival machine's error. To master internal noise, you must understand why it exists. Your brain is not a success machine. It is a survival machine. Evolutionarily speaking, a happy, relaxed, and confident human was a dead human. Our ancestors survived because they were constantly scanning for what could go wrong. They were the ones who heard a rustle in the grass and thought, "It's a tiger," even if it was just the wind. The ones who thought, "It's probably just the wind," didn't live long enough to become your ancestors. Today, those tiger alarms have nowhere to go. There are no saber-toothed cats in your living room, so your brain turns that survival energy inward. It scans your career, your relationships, and your goals for lions. What if I lose my money? The tiger is hunger. What if they laugh at me? The tiger is social exile. I'm not ready yet. The tiger is the unknown. Internal noise is simply a survival mechanism that hasn't been updated in 50,000 years. It is a safety alarm that is stuck in the ON position. Once you realize that your self-doubt is just biological static, it starts to lose its authority over you. The error of identification. The greatest mistake humans make is the word I. I'm anxious. I am a failure. I am not good enough. When you use the phrase I am, you are identifying with the noise. You are merging your soul with the static. But you are not the noise. You are the listener of the noise. Think of your mind like a television screen. The screen can show a violent storm, a peaceful meadow, or a chaotic war zone. But the screen itself is not the storm. The screen is not the war. The screen remains clear, steady, and unaffected by the images passing across it. Your consciousness is the screen. Your thoughts, the doubt, the fear, the overthinking, are just the shows playing on the screen. Mastering internal noise starts with the realization that just because a thought appeared in your head doesn't mean it's true, and it certainly doesn't mean it's you. Repetition anchor. Thoughts are suggestions, not commands. The resistance. Why the noise gets louder. Have you noticed that the noise is quietest when you are doing nothing? When you are sitting on the couch, watching a show you've seen 10 times, or scrolling mindlessly, the inner critic is silent. But the moment you decide to write the first page of your book, or make that high-stakes sales call, or step into the gym, the noise explodes. You're too tired. This won't work anyway. Who do you think you are? You should probably do more research first. This is what Stephen Pressfield calls the resistance. Internal noise is actually a compass. It is a heat-seeking missile designed to stop you from growing. The louder the noise, the more important the task is. When you hear the internal noise screaming at you to stop, you shouldn't feel discouraged. You should feel encouraged. The noise is proof that you are at the edge of your comfort zone. It is the sound of your old self trying to stop your new self from being born. Treat the noise like a panicked passenger in the backseat of a car. Let them scream. Let them tell you the bridge is out. Let them beg you to turn around. But never, under any circumstances, let them grab the steering wheel. Technique 1. Labeling the static. One of the most powerful ways to ignore internal noise is to objectify it. When a thought of doubt arises, do not argue with it. If you argue with your thoughts, you are giving them energy. You are validating them. Instead, simply label them. Instead of saying, "I'm worried about this meeting," say, "I'm having a thought that this meeting will go poorly." By adding that buffer of words, "I'm having a thought that," you separate yourself from the emotion. You become the observer. You look at the thought the way a scientist looks at a specimen under a microscope. "Oh, look at that. My brain is doing the fear of failure routine again. Interesting. Anyway, back to work." Technique 2. The not now rule. Internal noise loves to create fake urgency. It tries to convince you that you must solve your life's biggest problems right now, usually while you are trying to focus on a specific task. When you are in your focus window, Chapter 7, and a thought of life anxiety pops up, do not fight it. Use the not now rule. Say to the thought, "I hear you. I will give you my full attention at 5 p.m. But right now, I am working." Most of the time, by 5 p.m., the urgent noise has evaporated. It was only there to distract you from the effort of the moment. By delaying the response, you prove to your brain that you are the master of the schedule, not the thoughts. Repetition anchor. Thoughts are suggestions, not commands. Movement kills the noise. Internal noise thrives in stillness. The more you sit and think about your problems, the louder the noise becomes. This is the trap of overthinking. You cannot think your way out of a thought loop. You can only act your way out of it. Analysis is noise. Action is signal. When the internal noise becomes overwhelming, move your body. Do 10 push-ups. Walk around the block. Start the first minute of the task you are dreading. The moment you move into action, your brain has to redirect its energy from the thinking centers to the execution centers. The noise literally loses its fuel. You cannot be in a state of relentless execution and intense doubt at the same time. One must give way to the other. Choose execution. The suggestions mindset. Imagine you are at a meeting and a junior intern who has no experience and no data starts shouting out random, bad ideas. "We should sell the office. We should paint the logo purple. We should give up." Would you get angry at the intern? No. You would probably just smile and ignore them. You certainly wouldn't take their suggestions as commands. Your brain is that intern. It is going to throw thousands of bad ideas at you every day. You should be offended by that text. Suggestion. You should quit because this is hard. Suggestion. You should eat that junk food. Suggestion. Your job is to be the CEO who listens to the suggestions, realizes they are garbage, and says, "Thank you for your input, but we're going in a different direction." Summary and execution. The language shift. Stop saying "I am" emotion. Start saying "I am observing a thought of" emotion. The 3 a.m. rule. Never believe a thought you have after 9 p.m. or before a cup of coffee. That is the time when your filter is weakest and the noise is loudest. Action over analysis. If you've been thinking about a problem for more than 10 minutes without a solution, stop thinking. Start doing. The boredom response. When the inner critic starts its usual lecture, respond with boredom. "Oh, this again. We've heard this 1,000 times. Get some new material." You are the master of the house. The thoughts are just noisy guests. They can stay for a while, but they don't get to decide what's for dinner, and they certainly don't get to stay forever. Repetition anchor. Thoughts are suggestions, not commands. Chapter 10. Become untouchable. The eye of the storm. Imagine a hurricane. On the outside, there is total devastation. Winds are screaming at 100 miles per hour. Trees are being uprooted, debris is flying through the air, and the noise is deafening. It is a world of pure, unadulterated chaos. But in the center, the eye, there is something strange. There is absolute stillness. There is no wind. There is no noise. There is only a column of clear blue sky. The chaos is happening around it, but it cannot touch the center. This is what it means to be untouchable. Most people live on the outer edges of the hurricane. When the world gets loud, they get loud. When the economy shifts, they panic. When someone shouts at them, they shout back. They are at the mercy of the wind. By training your brain to ignore noise, you have moved your consciousness from the edge of the storm to the center. You have not stopped the hurricane. The world will always be chaotic, but you have changed your relationship to it. You are no longer the debris, you are the eye. Repetition anchor, calm mind, clear focus, relentless execution. The synthesis of power. We have traveled through the trenches of the mind. You have learned that your attention is being stolen and how to take it back. You have learned that reaction is weakness and that silence is a weapon. You have learned to filter the junk food of information and to build an environment where focus is inevitable. You have conquered the opinions of others and the static of your own internal doubt. Now, these lessons must merge. They are no longer individual tactics. They must become your standard operating procedure. To be untouchable is to have a mental immune system so strong that the viruses of distraction, drama, and doubt die the moment they touch your atmosphere. You don't have to try to ignore the noise anymore. You simply are the person for whom noise has no value. When you see a trending outrage, your brain automatically filters it. When you feel the itch of dopamine, your discipline automatically overrides it. When the internal critic speaks, you label it as static and move forward. You have reached the stage of unconscious competence. You are a high-level operator. The advantage of the calm. Why does this matter? Is this just about peace of mind? No, this is about dominance. In a world where everyone is distracted, the person who can focus is a superpower. In a room where everyone is reacting, the person who remains calm is the leader. In a market where everyone is chasing the next big thing, the person who stays on mission is the winner. The untouchable individual has a massive competitive advantage. While your competitors are wasting their mornings checking their phones and their afternoons worrying about what people think of them, you are executing. You are moving while they are vibrating. Chaos around you, but clarity within you. That is the hallmark of the elite. When the noise of a crisis hits, a business failure, a personal loss, a global shift, the average person's signal-to-noise ratio collapses. They can't think. They can't act. But you see the crisis for what it is, just another form of noise. You look for the signal, the opportunity, the next step, you filter the rest, and you execute. This makes you a force of nature. You are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are the architect of your response. Repetition anchor, calm mind, clear focus, relentless execution. The burden of greatness. Being untouchable is not easy. It is a burden. It means you can no longer indulge in the comforts of the average. You can no longer participate in the communal noise of complaining, gossiping, or wasting time. People will notice the change in you. They will see that you don't react to their provocations. They will see that you don't care about the things they care about. They will see your focus windows and your unbreakable discipline, and it will make them uncomfortable. They will try to bring the noise back into your life. They will try to pull you back into the hurricane. They will call you robotic or obsessed. Let them. You must be okay with being the villain to the distracted. You must be okay with the loneliness of the center of the storm. The price of mental dominance is a certain level of isolation from the noise of the masses. But the reward is a life of meaning, impact, and absolute freedom. The final filter, death and perspective. To truly become untouchable, you must apply the ultimate filter, memento mori. Remember that you will die. When you view your life through the lens of your final breath, the noise evaporates instantly. Does that snarky comment from 3 years ago matter on your deathbed? No. Noise. Does the urgent email you received today matter in the context of your legacy? No. Noise. Does the fear of looking foolish matter when you realize your time is finite? No. Noise. The untouchable mind uses the reality of death to sharpen the focus of life. Every second you spend on noise is a second you have stolen from your mission. Every time you let a distraction win, you are saying that the distraction is more important than your life's purpose. Stop giving your life away to things that don't matter. Repetition anchor, calm mind, clear focus, relentless execution. Living the philosophy. As you finish this book, the noise will be waiting for you. The moment you turn off this audio or close this page, your phone will be there. The breaking news will be there. The internal doubt will be there. Your training starts now. The audiobook never really ends. The train your brain process is a daily, hourly, second-by-second choice. It is a series of no's that lead to a massive yes for your life. No to the reaction. No to the dopamine hit. No to the gossip. No to the overthinking. And in the vacuum created by those no's, your greatness will finally have room to grow. You will find yourself working with a level of clarity you never thought possible. You will find your relationships deepening because you are actually present instead of mentally distracted. You will find a sense of peace that doesn't depend on the world being nice to you. The untouchable creed. From this day forward, you are a hunter of signal and a destroyer of noise. You are the gatekeeper of your attention. You are the master of your reactions. You are the architect of your focus. When the world screams, you will listen to the whisper of your purpose. When the world panics, you will breathe and see the path. When the world scrolls, you will build. You are no longer a puppet. The strings are cut. The cage is open. The hurricane is blowing, but you are standing perfectly still in the center, looking at exactly what you need to do next. Repetition anchor. Calm mind. Clear focus. Relentless execution. Conclusion. Your new reality. The world profits from your distraction, but you will profit from your focus. The journey to becoming untouchable is not about reaching a destination. It is about maintaining the standard. Go out today and be the quietest person in the room. Be the most focused person in the office. Be the most disciplined person in your house. Not because you have something to prove, but because you have a mission to complete. The noise is gone. The signal is clear. The work is waiting. Repetition anchor. Calm mind. Clear focus. Relentless execution.